Coming to you live from my wife's childhood bedroom. It's Rob Has a Podcast. And now here's the guy who can't wait to start binge watching all of the BB Flicks original movies. I am Rob Cesternino. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our live recap of the Sunday night episode for September, September 8th, 2019. I'm on the road. Hard to tell what day it is. The Jets are making me want to focus only on Big Brother from here on out and the rest of my life. And here to join us, a man who was already all about that life, Mr. Taran Armstrong. Taran, how are you?
Doing well, doing very well here, Rob. I'm streaming for Rob. That's why we're in the round table setup here on the video. But I'm very excited to be here, Rob.
Okay, and very excited to be talking with you here on another Sunday night, Taran. I'm very excited about our guest here tonight. She covers the live feeds, she podcasts about Riverdale, and she streams herself playing Nancy Drew video games on Twitch. Please welcome her back, the great, frail Mary Kwiatkowski. Mary, how are you?
Yeah, you know what? Proud Mary is just Poppins.
Proud Mary.
It is just Poppins in here. There's just something about Mary for the movie night, and I'm ready. I mean,
wait, are you BB Flixing yourself? Have you given yourself a bunch of other fake movies?
I'm like reverse BB Flixing because I couldn't think of any puns, so I just looked up movies that have my name in them.
Yeah.
Close enough.
Taran, do I dare task Big Brother Twitter with coming up with all the BB Flix movies for the LFC?
I think you've already dared. I think that it's out there now. I can't stop it.
I manifested it. I mean, they kind of already do that with the Twitter handles, but we don't get like a lot of movies.
Yeah. That's fair. I think that's true. I haven't seen any movies. I think it's hard to fit my name into most things, though. To be fair,
Armstrong is pretty easy. You just
that's
go for
true.
your last name.
Yeah,
yeah, it's challenging, but I trust the Big Brother Twitter. You know, as these feeds are slowing down here in the end of the game, that they can work on that. Of course. All right, we're here live tonight. I am on the road, so we're doing things a little bit differently. So if you have questions to get into the show, you could use hashtag RHAP or send them directly to me at Rob Cesternino. We will get them in the show. You could tweet to at Armstrong Taran or at Frail Mary also if you have questions that you want to make sure get into the show later on when we take them. So that's what we're going to do here on a Sunday night recap. So let's talk about a night where we didn't have a ton of movement in the game. We look back at the double eviction. We had a very fun HOH competition, which I'm sure we'll spend some time on. And I thought that we spent a lot of time on, if this was Survivor, Mary, I think I would start to call this a real turn for the winner's edit for Nicole.
Yeah, definitely a turn for the winner's edit for Nicole, and maybe sort of a Michelle Fitzgerald kind of edit. Let's go with that. But it was a change in edit for a bunch of people. I like how in the course of about 2 episodes with Big Brother, you can go from Tommy being a fame whore zing to Tommy being a complete underdog.
Yeah. Underdog, sad Tommy was a thing here tonight, Taran, as he went to pick himself up off the mat and promised the viewers that I'm not done just yet.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
a fighter.
This is totally a new side of Tommy that we haven't seen before. He mentioned it in the episode. I started this game with an army, and now it's just me left. And by necessity, he is now the underdog, and he's an actor. He knows how to work the underdog role, and I think he's working it pretty well, to be honest.
You say that, but while I think that he's definitely showing that he's an underdog, to me he just seems like a more sad sap kind of underdog than like a real, hey, you guys should root for me now.
Oh, but don't you count me out, Mary. I'm going to give it the most that anybody has ever given it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he did say that throughout this game, I've been a survivor, and that's what I got to do this week.
Okay, somewhere I have a necklace. I don't know where it is, but I have a Boston Rob quote on it. No need to investigate that. But Yeah, there's what he said at the end of this episode of, I can't do a Tommy voice. There may be stronger players than me in this house, but no one else is gonna gun for this veto the way I am. There's a Boston Rob quote that's very similar to that. That's like,
I'm gonna give it 1,000,000%.
it's like, oh, there may be stronger people than me, but I can guarantee you I'm tougher than every single one of them.
Yeah, is that Tommy?
Yes.
Mary, I can't do a Tommy accent, then nails a Tommy accent. Like,
Well, anyway, but yeah, he's definitely trying to channel this underdog thing.
Yeah. So we went back to the double eviction, and again, Taran, this is what Sunday Night Big Brother is all about, explaining what happened on Thursday night.
yeah, there you go. And I've been enjoying it. I've been enjoying these Sunday night episodes all season long, and I felt like this was a really good one.
Yeah. And so we went back to the double eviction. Any headlines for you in terms of anything that we saw from the double eviction that we didn't know yet?
Nothing crazy. It was about what I expected. Nicole just kind of being like, yeah, sorry, it's going to be you. I felt like she did a pretty good job of, explaining herself in a respectful way that, I'm just doing what's best for my game. I think that she handled it about as well as you can.
Yeah. Mary, we got to see the breakup goodbye between Tommy and Christy as they realized that one of them was going home from the game on Thursday night.
Well, yeah, I got to have that hug for all the Christy fans out there.
Mhm.
To be completely honest, I was in the middle of playing a board game and it was running late, and I was like, gotta wrap this up, guys. Big Brother's coming on. And I look over, and then the first 15 minutes are just what we saw last episode. It's like, no big deal.
That was an extended recap.
Yeah. They had a hug. Tommy, he's really upset that Christy's leaving, but don't worry. Just because her game is over doesn't mean mine is.
Yeah. How'd the board game go?
Oh, it was pretty good. We won. It was a collaborative board game, but me and Will from America crushed it.
Oh, good. Stay crushing it. Good job. Yeah, Taran, we also heard Tommy say that when Christy left the game, I was relieved.
Yeah, and I don't doubt it. And he did follow it up with like that I'm still here. But like I've been talking about this on the live feed updates. I feel there was something building up inside of Tommy for a long time that was just like, can I just please just have a moment?
Yeah.
And now he does.
I listened to the live feed update like about an hour before I watched the episode tonight, and I was thinking about that when you were talking about at that point where Tommy found out that Christy was going to stay in the game. I wonder if Tommy doesn't go on to win the game. I wonder if we'll look back to that week where Christy and Sis was on the block. Like, should Tommy have tried harder to get Christy out of the game that week?
It's possible. I mean, the thing is that they're both very loyal allies to him at that point. Christy was a better competitor, at least seemingly was, and so theoretically would have had a better chance of winning some competitions to help him out. But at the same time, maybe Tommy and Sis aren't as big a threat and priority to Nicole in this double eviction as Tommy and Christy. And so maybe she does decide to actually turn on Jackson and Holly at the double eviction, which gives Tommy better odds heading into the final five. But it's a tough one to call from so far back.
It's hard, though, because if you think about if Sis was still here at this point and Nicole was debating a little bit about whether or not she should have even taken the shot at Tommy instead of Christy this time. And if Sis is there, I think she definitely takes the shot at Tommy instead of Sis.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if she does follow through and stays with Jackson and Holly, then the hammer does fall on Tommy instead of Sis. But I think there's more of a chance that she goes after Jackson at that point. So it's, pros and cons.
Okay, so we end up with our final five people in the house, and there's some talk between Jackson and Holly and Cliff and Nicole, and they're talking about how exciting this is, that it's just going to be the four of them, and then there's a chance that one of them is going to go on to win the $500,000 prize, and Holly can even figure that out.
This is it. One of us is going to win $500,000.
We have a 20% chance, right? I don't math good, but that's 20%.
Yeah. She doesn't math good, Mary.
She's not a brainer, no, but
As Taran and Kirsten discussed this morning, yeah.
It's reminding me a little bit of Big Brother Canada, where Sam was always talking about how she was a weed brain and had a weed brain and couldn't math things correctly. It's a little different scenario here, but
yeah, we don't think that that's the case with Holly.
I mean, she's from Wyoming. If she was from Colorado, maybe it'd be different. I don't know.
Math good.
Yeah. I don't math good.
I think she picked that up from Jackson, actually, because Jackson earlier in the season talked about how he didn't puzzle good, but that was just a lie.
Yeah. Maybe he doesn't brag good.
I don't know about that, though.
That's his ability.
He doesn't humble good.
He doesn't humble good. Okay. We got to see also Nicole got to get her letter from home. And Mary, we have not seen this a ton in Big Brother 21. And this is somebody who didn't even get a HOH room, but we got to see Nicole have a very tearful letter from home, even though she won HOH during the double eviction.
Well, I think this is still a little bit of lead over from the first half of the season or so, where Big Brother knew the internet was not loving everyone. Then the internet rallied around Nicole, and they're like, all right, we got to milk all of this Nicole goodness we can. I don't know if there was any other people who don't watch a ton of Big Brother out there, but the person I was watching with was extremely confused about why they were crying over letters and why it was so awkward that she had to read the letter out loud. But I think we learned something very important from this letter here. This bird nonsense has reached into the outside world for Nicole.
Okay, well, that's the question here. Let me play this and then we'll talk about it. This is from Nicole's parents to Nicole.
I came to realize that this mama bird had to let the baby bird leave the nest and fly solo, and you did just that.
Okay, Taran. As the resident Nicole whisperer, okay? You've studied her, you've watched her, and I need to know, is Nicole's mom making a reference to the fact that it's been so talked about that Nicole has a thing with the birds? Or is Nicole's deep-seated fear of birds stemming from the fact her mom refers to herself as Mama Bird and Nicole as Baby Bird and their home as a nest?
Really puts a dark spin on that already dark tale of her locking her parents in the basement. Yeah.
Yeah.
You let Mama Bird out!
Rob, is that where you are right now? Are you locked in a basement somewhere?
Yes, I am. It's even more terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, clearly there's some sort of creepy bird thing happening here. Either that or this has been some elaborate ruse that Nicole has pretended to be afraid of birds so that Big Brother would mess with her with birds, and then all throughout the season, as they think they're messing with her, what they're really doing is that every time she sees the birds, she sees home.
What? Mary, Nicole didn't react like, oh, look at this. Mom, come on with the bird thing. I see what you did there.
Okay,
Nicole acted like this was a natural thing to be called Mama Bird.
Yeah, we had a whole segment on just how, because Christy and Tommy were wearing pink, they looked like flamingos. And that was insane. But when someone calls her Baby Bird, I think this is clearly some deep-seated personal trauma from her life, and that she just has been bottling it down. Actually, no, I think it's way more likely that Big Brother reached out to Nicole's parents and said, hey, please write this. It'll be great. And then they just didn't have time to put that in the segment.
Please include some bird jokes in there. Okay. All right. More to add to the deep dive with Nicole in a couple of weeks, Taran. Okay. So we also saw Nicole talking with Tommy, and I thought this was really interesting that we got to see some stuff where I talked about Nicole's winner edit, but Taran, I felt like that we got a confessional from Nicole after she talked with Tommy that would have been in Nicole's winner montage, if that was such a thing on Big Brother, where she talked about what she was thinking about in terms of her next steps in the game.
Nicole's plan was, and always will be adapting and navigating, and I see everything visually in front of me. Right now, best case scenario is Tommy wins the HOH and puts up the showmance. I need him to take a shot at our alliance so that me and Cliff don't have to.
Okay, so I think that's very informative about where Nicole's head is at as we enter this week, at least.
Yeah, for sure. And this is the Nicole that everyone fell in love with at the start of the season. That, you know, she seemed like such a promising player at the start of the season, and then as she was attempting to break up the big alliance, she just got caught. Everything blew up. Undeniable happened, and for a long time after that, we talked about how she seemed really gun shy, really afraid to make too big a move lest that happen again. And she never had the opportunity to get any power, to have any chance to make that kind of shot again. But now she has tasted power, and that devious side of Nicole is back, and she's ready to play some power moves.
Mary, this is like the classic Big Brother story of the person underestimated all season long who now heading towards the end game is now starting to make moves and starting to win competitions. Everything feels like it's coming up Nicole right now.
Yeah, she's hatched.
Yes.
She's been fed by her mama bird.
Baby bird's gonna fly.
Gonna fly. I think it's great. I think Nicole probably just really needed that win, more so to give herself the confidence that she could do this and could make moves. We're getting to a pretty interesting part now, though, where Cliff and Nicole, being a tight pair, they have slightly different opinions moving forward of what is best for each of them. So kind of interesting to see how that's going to work out. But yeah, and Nicole being able to finally let loose a little is very comforting. I'm glad that we brought this back, because sad Nicole was not as great. I'll take sad Tommy any day.
Okay. All right. So we are going to get to our HOH competition. And I've been waiting all night to talk about this because this was so much fun. We get the return of the BB Flicks. Taran, was it called BB Flicks last year?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. I'm very excited to talk about this because I got to talk about the magazines during Celebrity Big Brother, but last summer this was one of the episodes that I had to miss, and I know you got to talk about it with Eric Stein, and I've been very jealous all year for not being able to talk about BB movies, but we're gonna make up for that tonight.
So last year it was called BB Flicks and Chill.
BB Flicks and Chill. Okay.
Oh, are we just not chilling anymore?
I guess not.
I'm pretty sure that Bailey said that her and Swaggy's favorite activities are BB Flicks and chilling.
Right. Well, see, what you don't know is that we've all secretly just moved to the BB rec room, and that's really for why we have all these fancy backdrops.
Okay. Yeah, that's what's going on. All right. So we have a bunch of different titles. Let's just go through them and stop down on anything that is especially fun. But Tara, I was impressed. I feel like there was some real throwbacks in here.
Yeah, I mean, I think they went as far back as at least BB14, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's 7 years ago. So, I don't know. Maybe it was the oral history of Dan's funeral, which got people going back that far. But yeah, we went back a little bit of a ways.
Yeah, I always love when the show pays credence to its history. You know, it's certainly you could probably go back further than Big Brother 14, but still, it's pretty good for Big Brother. They don't usually have these kinds of references.
We had a Brenchel movie also, so technically we're going back as far as BB13.
Oh, there you
go. So. It's a thing, yeah, and some Danny Donato and Dominic was mentioned in the 4 Weddings and Dan's funeral. So we hit BB13.
All right.
Okay. All right. Let's in round 1, and I gotta give credit to the BB21 live feeds account for reality recaps, who had the screenshots of all of these if you want to go back and see them. We had Beard Science, which had Paul and Donnie. We had Ovi the Top and Austin Powerless. Mary, do you have a favorite here?
Austin Powerless was probably my favorite of those.
Mhm.
I enjoyed all of them, but the imagery there, and I've just finished that season, so it was top of mind for me.
Yeah. Taran, Ovi the Top. I'm not really sure what's going on here in this movie. That Ovi is giving thumbs up. There's a hospital bed,
Mm-hmm.
and then Cliff is like, "Argh!" And then there's
doing
also Orwell.
Doing the money thing.
Oh, he's doing okay. So what's going on here?
That's that's his. It's when he wins a competition. He does
Yeah,
the
but
money
what's
thing.
the plot of Ovi the Top?
Well, the tagline is "We don't know what it's about either." So
There's like an old TV on his chest, and yeah, I have just noticed the Cliff doing the money thing, but he did it when he won the veto in this past.
yeah, there's lightning. There's I really don't know.
Was this maybe what was gonna happen when Ovi used the nightmare power? Is this like that Cliff got out of bed and he's excited, and then Orwell is gonna fly in?
It doesn't look like a movie that Nicole would like.
I don't think so. No. No Nicoles would like that movie.
Yeah, okay, they already blew it up. Why couldn't they just have Fellowship of the Zing be a be a movie there?
I don't know. Well, I guess for Cliff and Nicole, it would not be maybe the best thing to have everybody reminded of that here at the Final Five.
Yeah.
Then Beard Science, we have Paul and Donnie. And what do you think the plot of that movie is, Taran?
Well, clearly they're experimenting with some kind of beard growing formula, and it gets a little bit out of control. And it's kind of one of those movies that the whole point is that it's in 3D and that the beard kind of like goes into your face and you're like, gross. It's for teens, so they have a lot of beard shenanigans. The beards grow all over each other.
Yeah. The movie Weird Science, the kids, like, they made like a girl on the computer, and then the computer got struck by lightning. So maybe that Paul has developed some sort of beard growing app that ends up going haywire.
Well, Donnie is holding some kind of formula.
Well, Donnie's a groundskeeper, so when the beards get really long, he's got like all the tools to help keep the beards in check.
Donnie's beard also forming the RD at the end of beard in the Beard Science title.
Yeah, I think Paul's beard is forming the B,
Yeah.
and then they're sort of morphing together to get the A there.
Okay. All right. Jackson ends up getting that point. Now, Taran, I was expecting Jackson to be the fastest on the trigger here. In round one, he was actually the slowest on the trigger. It seemed like that his patience was his virtue.
This was a really strange competition to watch as a competition. Like, obviously, seeing the movie posters is fun, but we would see the movie posters, we'd hear all of the clues, and then we'd see the players just kind of like standing there, and then somebody would come on and be like, so I heard this and I heard this, and that's when I knew it was this. But like the timeline wise, when we were watching the episode, they were buzzing in like a long time after all of the clues had stopped, and so I had no idea when they were buzzing in or why. So it makes no sense that none of them, that they all got it wrong on this one after hearing all the clues. So they must have buzzed in like a couple of clues in, but it didn't read that way when we watched the episode, so it was very difficult to follow.
Well, they worked hard on making these photoshops. Let the graphic designers, get their money's worth.
Yeah, I would love for this to be one you could play along to, but you really can't because they just zoom in on whichever one they're talking about, and that's when you figure it out. I can only assume that they buzz in really fast, and then after the competition, they get to stare at them all again in the diary room while they come up with what their thought process was.
Okay, let's talk about the movies from the second round. The Trucker with the Bad Tattoo. This felt like a really long way to go to throw shade at Sam's tattoo, Mary.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, if he had a tattoo more like in the original story, it might be a slightly better tattoo than the one he actually has. I think that's definitely a movie that back in the old days of Netflix, when it was a mail delivery, you would get it and order it and then send it.
Yeah, so you don't get a late fee.
Yeah.
Send it.
Sam responded to this. He just said, I have a bad tattoo, cry face emoji.
Mhm.
the review though of
Yeah, the
this
tagline.
movie, just great movie, bad tattoo by Jack.
Jack of all people
Yeah.
was the person that said he had a bad tattoo.
That's such a Jack comment too. Look, I love you. You're a great movie, but the tattoo needs to go.
As your friend, I need to tell you.
And really rich of him, given his tattoo.
Yeah. Okay. We have a Once Upon a Time in the Have Not room, and it's Jess, and it's Nicole, and it's Sam, and they're slop, and I have no idea what's going on, Taran.
Yeah, I don't slop your way to the top. I don't know what the top of what.
Yeah,
it's definitely it looks like a raunchy comedy to me.
Yeah, what is it? Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? Is that what it is? What it is?
That's the most recent one, but that's sort of a riff on westerns, which I don't know.
I don't know. But this was maybe the phone this one in. And then Citizen Shane.
This one was pretty good.
Yeah, this was a long way to go for a movie that rhymes with Citizen Kane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Citizen Shane, winner of 6 overall award competitions, but will he get your vote?
4 stars for Citizen Shane. And I know that recent podcast convert Danielle Murphy, I'm sure to check out Citizen Shane sometime. Okay.
Rosebud.
Is that what he said?
That's what Shane said when he was evicted. Doesn't anyone remember?
He whispered that in Danielle's ear.
Yeah.
Okay. Mary, a rock star is born. There's Brett and Rockstar, and they're sitting on a birthday cake. You'll never forget her daughter's birthday.
Yeah, Brett getting a couple movies here in this competition. I love it. I love the matching denim, and I think that Brett probably has a lot to give in this movie. Micro penis. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you'll never forget her daughter's birthday.
Yeah, this is a straight rom-com out of the 90s.
Then we have 4 Weddings and Dan's Funeral, the musical. And the 4 weddings are Jess and Cody, Dom and Danny, Rachel and Brendan, and Jordan and Jeff. And then the review is the best rom-com of the year from Paul.
Yeah, only 2 stars though.
Yeah, I don't know where Paul came from. I don't know what Paul has to do with this one. It would have made a little more sense if they had put this one from Christy, because she called it Dance Funeral earlier in the season.
Yeah.
Really, there should have been Dance Funeral. That should have been one of the movie posters.
Yeah. And now here's the real head scratcher from round 3. Kemi Mia. Now, of course, last season, don't forget, we had the Mamma Mia 2 competition where Brent and Melissa explained the plot of Mamma Mia to me on the podcast. But Kemi Mia, and the plot appears to be something about Kemi with Nicole, Jess, David, and Sam. Mary, what is happening here? What is Kemi Mia?
It's certainly not anything like the plot of Mamma Mia.
Yeah.
So I can only assume that the plot is this is the sequel to The Trucker with the Bad Tattoo, actually, but it's a musical form. So Sam shows up and he brings David along, and then Kemi gets pregnant, but they don't know who the father is between the two.
Yeah.
And Nicole's there to sing, but Jess keeps throwing her under the bus, and so you can never tell. Sorry, Jess keeps throwing her under the truck. That
Sam's truck.
Yeah, that Sam is driving, and so they never find out who the father is.
Taran, maybe they could have done it where maybe if you had Jack in there and trying to figure out who started the Black Widows, maybe there could be some question if you could get Bella in there also.
Yeah, this felt like they were really. It felt like it mostly came from the pun, and they didn't have much else to work from.
Yeah,
and that's the thing too, is that it wasn't a good one. Like it felt like they really just wanted a Mamma Mia, and they were like, whose name is the closest? Mama Kemi, right? That's
More
close.
importantly, they just wanted to throw more shade at Sam by noting on here that that he could sing, and then having the comments in the competition say, "I just want to watch anything where Sam is not singing."
Okay.
Who knew Sam could sing?
Checking the chat. Is the chat getting mad at this yet? The chat still okay with this? Because I'm having fun with the BB movies. Okay. Let's go through. We have Dan with the Quack Pack. That's on Taran's DVD shelf. We have Cousins the movie, Mary, the spun off Ross Matthews and Meta World Peace from Cousins the TV show, the movie.
Yeah, this is the point where they started to get a little bit self-referential and a little less creative. We had a couple here, but the Cousins the movie. I mean, what are we gonna get next? The tall and short of it, the movie.
Yeah, that was good.
Well, at least the tagline was a bore for the whole family, which I was like, yeah, there you go.
And then Cody Calafiore is Cody Shack.
Brother Cody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good job there for the Cody Calafiore golf movie. Now in round 5, we have the Fast and Furiously Evicted 3D with a Glenn sighting and Cameron, Taran.
Yes, gas to the floor. They're through the door.
Now, Mary, this film was directed by the Zingbot.
Appropriate.
Yeah, I think it was also taglined by the Zingbot, and I think this makes sense. I'm assuming that it's a 20-minute long movie. It's about as long as Cameron was in the house. So
Zing. Now, also, this movie has the rating that it's for adults. Do you think that there are some issues with Glenn perhaps on the set here in the film?
another reason why the movie was cut to 20 minutes.
I think children just can't handle the tragedy. It's just too tragic. This movie. It's so I don't know what the word is. Funny maybe that I feel like Glenn, Cameron, Jody, they have shared so much screen time on Big Brother post
Jody
eviction.
got snubbed here though.
Genuinely, they have spent more time on the show as being made fun of than actually on the show themselves.
I like to think that Zingbot directing a movie probably went just about as well as Tommy Wiseau in the room. I like to think it was probably a similar experience.
Okay.
Hi, Glenn.
Yeah.
Have not room. Yeah.
All right. Hamlet Strikes Back. Tara, I'm not sure what we're going for here, where we have the Hamlet from last season, where we to be or not to be again. What are the Hamlet sequel?
It's more action-packed than the original. It's Hamlet Strikes Back from the grave, as you know, as Haley reads it and makes your ears bleed. Maybe
it would not be hard to be more action-packed than the original.
The original Haley reading, or
the original Haley reading?
Yeah.
I think maybe she accidentally conjures the spirit of Hamlet, who comes and wreaks havoc in the Big Brother house, and then it turns into like Dead Set or something.
And then we also have the Revengers, Zingfinity War. Of course, the Revengers was the big BB Comics extravaganza for what season did they actually do? That was that BB 18?
I think it was 19.
Was it 19?
No, I think well, it was. It must have been 19 because it had Nicole in it.
Yeah, James, I think James is in it. So
and Nicole's in it.
Yeah. So there's the Revengers Zingfinity.
If it was in 18, we would have had a lot of, oh my gosh, how are Nicole and James? How did they film this and be in the BB house at the same time?
It's a good question.
You just got a Zingbot here. I am inevitable. Zing.
Okay, let's talk about round 6. And here's where things took a turn nobody was expecting. We start off here with the old man and the swaggy C. And it took me a minute, and I said, hold on a second. Mary, was this an accident or intentional? Did Big Brother Did they just do put Swaggy C and Kevin in a movie together?
I love that Swaggy C was hosting the competition. Yeah, no comment. This is great. This is just my favorite part.
This had to have been. I don't understand how this is not on purpose.
I mean, is there a chance it could not be?
Look, if it wasn't on purpose, they would have subbed in any other old man. He's not even the old man from Swaggy C's season. So
wow, this is like then a real coincidence if it was not intentional.
All we needed was Swaggy C holding a basketball, and it would have been great.
I feel like maybe the producers were like, oh hey, they did a thing together, right? Like a basketball thing. They're like they're paired off.
That they don't know that there was any sort of drama.
I feel like there's no way. They definitely know. Come on.
Who's greenlight? Like who's telling the graphic designer to do? Is it possible that the graphic designer is not that clued in on? Like somebody has to know what's up. That's like coming up with the ideas and then telling the graphic designer. So. I don't know. I'm not buying the plausible deniability here.
Yeah, me neither.
It's one of the better puns, though.
Then Good Bellas, where Mary, what's happening in this movie? We have three Bellas, but are they all in the mafia?
All three of them. Yeah,
it's like a musical.
It does look like a musical. I just like that they have 3 titles above it. Isabella, and Isabella.
Written and directed by Isabella.
Nominated for 1 award.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think this is maybe a reference to the fact that she is constantly ratting herself out and putting out hits on herself and getting herself evicted.
And then a second Swaggy and Bailey film, Showmancing the Stone, a love story from the people that brought you Jess and Cody.
They really went all in on the Swaggy and Bailey on this set of posters here.
Yeah. Okay, so and then in round 7, okay, last ones for people that are actually I think there's 2 more. Okay, we can go through these quick. Super Fantasy Island, where it's Josh and Jason Roy. Those are the super fans. Now, Taran, is this technically a Big Brother 18 Jason, or is this actually a Big Brother over the top? Big Brother 17 Jason, I should say.
I think this one was the Big Brother 17 Jason. I think Big Brother OTT Jason was a different Jason.
We have Pulp Eviction with David and Ovi.
I love this one.
Yeah. What's the review here from Sam?
Definitely worth the squeeze, says Sam.
Squeeze it! Yeah. Okay. And then the Have Not games, Mary.
Yeah, which took a long time to read that font. We've got who is this?
Jackson's
Tommy
at the top. Yeah.
It's Tommy, Christy, Jackson, and Kat.
Yeah. Kat's a little harder to tell. What face is Jackson making in this?
I don't know.
He was very, very disgusted. It seems like he might be experiencing some of those things Sam talked about.
I think that was right after Sis threw his watermelon away.
Now, the tagline on the Have Not games is "At least you won't go hungry." Mary, is this a shot at themselves for Jackson's nonstop eating as a have not?
Yes. Well, at least you won't go hungry because we'll allow you to sneak grapes in the shower. But yeah, I think the fire there is more just of what you're going to experience after you eat those fried slop balls.
Fried slop.
I think they are definitely getting back at Jackson here. His face is on the not word. His face is the only one that is not just the generic photo. It's like his face all scrunched up and contorted. And at least you won't go hungry. Like, this is definitely a shot at Jackson.
Okay. We have then the final batch was for Brett and Winston's awesome adventure.
Yes.
Which I guess a Bill and Ted joke here. What does it say? There's always time for bros.
Yes. Can always make time.
Saving Private Riley. Mary, what's going on? Is this Brendan sending Rachel off to go be on The Amazing Race again?
This is my favorite one completely. Everyone needs a partner. What does it say at the top? From
Winner of the Golden Power
Joe?
Award for Best Crying.
Mhm.
Yeah, and directed from the director of G.I. Jody, which I think was
Mm.
one from last season.
Okay,
Yes.
good. I got Jody in there somewhere.
Yeah, so that makes sense. But Brendan's wistful, longing face in the clouds
Hmm.
really, really ties it all together.
You should have picked me for the Amazing Race.
And then finally, McRae, anything. They always get McRae in there. I mean, McRae, whether it's like house guest dating, or anytime they do one of these, that he is a favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He'll make you a helpless showmantic.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's what he did when on his season.
Yeah.
Right.
Taran, do you feel like that? Is McRae, do you feel like that's somebody that would be in the running for an All-Stars appearance, or they just, for whatever reason, they really like using him in the graphics?
You know, you should think so, given how often they like to use him in the graphics, but they also love to use Jody, Glenn, and Cameron in the graphics, and I feel like that's not the best sign in the world.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I guess one of these days, we'll have some kind of all-star season, and we'll find out the answers to these questions.
It's gonna be a better shot than people who aren't in graphics, though.
Yeah. Okay. Better to be in graphics than not be in graphics.
Yeah.
That's what we learned here tonight. Okay. But Jackson is the winner of the HOH competition, and it really, Taryn, is this three HOHs for Jackson?
3 in a row.
3 in a row, and he's traded off with Holly, and with Holly won 2 in between there.
Holly won 1, and then
Nicole
won the double.
How dare you forget Nicole's 20 minutes?
No, I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if it went that if Holly had 2 and Nicole had 1, but Holly's was earlier in the season, so her first one was earlier in the season, and so all right, so here he is back as HOH, and now we're back to much like he had with Jess earlier last week. He has to have a tough conversation with Tommy, Mary, where, hey, there's only 3 people and 2 seats.
Yeah, and I'm certainly not putting up Holly.
Not going to put up Holly. And so, Tommy's going to make his pitch, but ultimately he's going to be a target for the block this week.
Yeah, and it is really sad to see how far Tommy has fallen, but I think we're finally getting the comeuppance from trying to play a very specifically a game where he's not the one with a lot of power. The problem with that is once all the pieces you're manipulating go away, you've got nothing left. And that's where Tommy's at.
Okay, so ultimately we're going to get our nominations for the week. We're going to have Jackson is going to put up. We're going to get our Tommy and Cliff up on the block, Taran. Any surprise there why it was Cliff instead of Nicole?
There was speculation that it might be Nicole on the block because Jackson had discussed with Cliff that no matter what happens this week, I want you to be the one that stays, which definitely implies that if Tommy wins the veto, it would be Nicole that goes home. Obviously, though, you don't need Nicole on the block to make that happen because if Tommy wins the veto, Nicole would be the replacement. But there was some consideration that maybe he would just put Nicole straight up on the block. Cliff was used as the pawn the last week, so maybe he wouldn't use him as the pawn this week. But ultimately, this is a tricky situation, the final 5. It doesn't happen often, but it's theoretically possible that the person left off the block could win the veto and then force the other person, being Holly, onto the block. Jackson would have no choice, so leaving the weakest person off the block is usually the correct strategy, and I'm sure, I don't know if that was necessarily a part of his thinking, but Cliff has always been the go-to here, so he decided Cliff was the person to keep on the block.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't get this at all, by the way, this move from Jackson. I think that he has plenty of reasons, especially the fact that he's used Cliff multiple times before as the pawn, to say, you know what, Nicole, it's your turn. You also just won, so let's put you up. Because I think Nicole and Cliff are a toss-up in terms of mental competitions, but if there's a physical element for the veto, you would think they would assume that Nicole would do better than Cliff. So I had no idea. I mean, I would have put up Nicole. I think that's smarter.
All right. Anything else from the episode before we talk about the spoilers from the weekend?
I'll just say I enjoyed this episode. I felt like it was well put together. I felt it for Nicole when she won, and there was real emotion there. You know, for as much as Tommy plays it up, I'm still a sucker for it. Like, I love the hype of somebody who's just like not gonna give in. And I've kind of said for a while now, when Tommy is not over the top in the diary room, when he is a little more low key, he is one of my favorites because the way he's not yelling. And just the fact that he's completely over dramatizing. He's completely like, I am gonna do this for myself. Like, it's so ridiculous, but at least he's not yelling, and I've gotten to the point where I'm just so thankful for that. So I really enjoyed that part too, and I felt the music was really well placed as well. I really liked it overall. The whole package was pretty good here.
I had one other clip from the episode that I pulled that I didn't get to play. This was Nicole talking about how far she's come and her humble beginnings. She does humble good. Here's Nicole.
I live on Long Island with my parents, my sisters, and my dogs, and they are my world. And I know that is so super lame.
My dogs.
I'm gonna poll people out here on Long Island right now and see if they think that is lame. I assure you, Nicole, that is not. That is very popular here to have dogs here on Long Island.
Do you think if Holly if Holly said things like, yeah, and I understand that that's lame, in her diary sessions, they would show more of the ones where she just wants to talk about her family?
Are you talking about being from Wyoming is lame? If she talked
Holly would never.
She would not ever say that.
She's mad that they never let her talk about her family, and they only talk about the showmans. She just needs to be more self-aware.
So you're saying if she was in the diary room saying like, I know, I just like want to talk about my family and they're from Wyoming and that's lame, but then that's sort of like a setup for something else.
Yes,
I genuinely couldn't even picture those words coming out of her mouth, even in jest, even as a way to talk about her family. I don't think she'd ever say those words.
The segue. Okay. All right. Let's get into talking about the spoilers from the live feeds, and then we'll take your questions as well coming up. If you're going to jump out here, we are going to be live with our recap on Wednesday night at 9:15, and then we will have our live recap from the SVA Theater in New York City on Thursday night. The plan, assuming everything goes according to form, is that we'll be able to stream that one live to you as well. So we will have our live eviction recap in person with myself and Taran and Brent and Eric Stein and Caitlin. Maybe even Kemi might be there as well. So we're very excited for Thursday night's show. So be on the lookout for that. It's going to be a very special show Thursday night. But for those of you guys who are sticking around, let's talk about the spoilers.
The Office of Civil Defense has issued the following message. This is
a spoiler.
Warning.
A spoiler.
Warning means that an actual
spoiler
against this country has been detected.
My fake
and that protective action should be
buzzer.
taken.
There you go. All right. Let's talk about the spoilers. And Taran, we had our BB Comics from over the weekend.
Yes. And the dance I was just doing for the spoiler song, it's the Nicole and Cliff victory dance because Nicole won BB Comics.
All right. I didn't hear anybody talk about did we get any spoilers on what the comics were, what the superhero names were?
Sam and Holly's apparently were X-rated, according to Nicole.
X-rated?
According to Nicole. That's what she said.
That's like PG-13 in real person language.
Yeah.
What could Holly's have been?
It's probably the old buzzard, right?
Old buzzard.
I think, didn't hers have something to do with wine? I feel like that was maybe it.
And what was Sam's? Oh, it wasn't about the fried slop, was it?
I hope so. Yeah, I wasn't getting I didn't check to see what they were, but yeah, I love this, that Nicole thinks that things need to be heavily rated. I like when she was in the diary room this episode and she said that she bleeping loved Cliff.
Mm-hmm.
So that was great.
Yeah, Holly was not fond of hers, if you can imagine that.
Oh.
She's a tough critic, though.
Yeah. Kemi was the Keminator.
Keminator.
coming back from the future to destroy.
Okay. What's what's better, Keminator or Chemimia?
The Keminator for sure.
Yeah, I think that's probably better.
Hmm.
Okay. All right. So let's then discuss the ramifications of Nicole's veto win. Taran, this sets a lot of things in motion.
It does. It does. I mentioned earlier that at the final 5, when that third person, the person not on the block, is able to win the veto, they can then use the veto. So Nicole can use the veto on Cliff, which she intends to do.
Uh-oh.
Which means that both Nicole and Cliff are immune. The only other 2 people left for nomination are Tommy, who is already nominated, and Holly, who has never touched the block up until probably tomorrow. Holly will end up on the block then, sitting next to Tommy, but you say, whatever, it's fine. It's still Tommy that's going to leave, right? Because they've got a final 4 deal. Except Nicole just told you in the episode tonight, she's kind of evil. And she wants to backstab Jackson Holly and send Holly out the door.
Mary, that's not how they do it in Wyoming.
This is why I said that when they put Cliff up on the block. I mean, according to Jackson, he was thinking that BB Comics was probably going to happen. And if you're thinking that, and you're looking at Cliff and you're looking at Nicole, I wouldn't have expected either of them to win it necessarily, but I would have put the odds on Nicole to win that one. So I don't know. Maybe he's just hiding the fact that, much like Holly, he didn't realize that there was this loophole that existed and that Holly could end up on the block. Not great. I think this is also what I was talking about earlier, of having a little bit of a difference in opinion between Cliff and Nicole over who they think they should keep and what's better for each of their games.
Yeah, Taran, I was following your polling, asking people of what is the right move here for. Now, was your poll just for what is the right move for Nicole or for Nicole and Cliff?
For both Nicole and Cliff.
Okay. I'm really starting to default to, forget the alliances. When 2 people are up on the block, I think you have to take the better player. I think that we have seen this a couple times this season, and it's come back to, bite people when, leaving, or taking Jess out, and a couple of these other eviction nights that were confusing. Like voting Nick out instead of who was he up against? Was it Christy? I think you have to take out the better player. So I think I would side with knockout Tommy here, even though that Holly and Jackson are in a showmance.
It's such a tricky spot, and I went over it this morning. I feel like there are absolutely cases to be made on both sides. I put out the poll today at the start of the day, and with nearly 7,000 votes so far, it is still pretty much split right down the middle in terms of whether people think it should be Holly evicted or Tommy evicted. The argument to keep Tommy, the one that Nicole is holding on to, is that they can make a deal with Tommy, that he will side with them at the final 4 and take out Jackson, who by necessity must be vulnerable because he can't compete in the HOH. So it becomes a 3 versus 1 competition at the final 4 against Jackson. There's some incentive for Tommy to take Jackson out because he is such a massive threat. That, on top of any kind of deal they make with him, would improve their odds at final 4, and it breaks up a couple. It prevents it from being a 2 versus 2 battle at the final 4, where if Jackson or Holly win, then one of Cliff and Nicole are going out, and then they're going to the final 3 against a showmance. So that all sounds nice and wonderful, but if they do keep Tommy might betray them, and we heard in the episode tonight that he does view Cliff as one of, if not the biggest threats in the house, so he could absolutely turn around and betray them and take out Cliff if he won the veto. And he is, I think, harder to beat in the final 3 than Holly would be in the competition, because Holly would be the person that they took down to the end if they did win that 2v2 battle. And then there's, to your point, there's the fact that Tommy is much more difficult to beat in the final 2 as well, versus Holly, who I think is much easier to beat. And Tommy is just a better player overall. And so they have gone back and forth. They have voiced these exact same arguments to each other in the house, and Cliff almost word for word repeated what I said this morning a few hours ago. He's like, yeah, I mean, I feel like if we keep Tommy, we have an easier road at the final 4 to get to the final 3, but a harder road at the final 3. But if we keep Holly, then we have a harder time at final 4, but an easier time at final 3. And so they're kind of going back and forth, or at least Cliff is going back and forth. Nicole is very gung-ho. She wants to make this happen. She wants to break up the other couple. I think a part of her is feeling like, you know what, even if it doesn't work out, at least I've made my mark. At least I've broken up the couple. I broke up both couples. Like, I'm gonna go for it. And Cliff is trying to think a little more along the lines of like, but Tommy is a stronger player. I'm willing to go with you, Nicole, but I do want to discuss this and try to think through all of the options. But it does seem like right now the momentum is kind of in favor of keeping Tommy.
Mary, what do you think that Nicole should do?
So I've been going
more what Cliff should do.
Yeah, I've been going back and forth for both of them. And I think, the pros and cons have been debated on the internet all day. I think it doesn't matter which person they vote out. If it were me, I would probably vote out Holly, because I think that there are a few more repercussions. If Nicole survives, maybe Tommy goes home, then Cliff goes home. And if it's Nicole and or Cliff, whichever one of them, for both of them, if it's them and the showmance in the final 3, even if they make it to the final 2, I think people are going to be saying, the showmance helped get you there. And it looks a little bit less like they got themselves there. It looks a little bit more like they went along with this alliance. I think even if you break up the showmance, that's more of like an active move in the eyes of the jury, as long as you own it. So I think it doesn't matter as much who they get out, but either Cliff or Nicole, whichever one or both of them together, need to really, really own whichever move they do, and then be able to just, I want to hear more about how they're going to speak, to the jury about this, or how they're going to say it to Holly and Jackson when they do make that move, or to Tommy when they make that move. I think it's just so much more important how you portray the move than it is which person you actually got out. So, because there's just so many pros and cons, it's really even which one you would do. But yeah, if it were me, I would concentrate more on how am I going to make this mine, and make sure that people see that even if I'm in the end with one of them, that I made the correct move for myself.
Taran, I know this is hard to tell without getting the diary rooms, but is Nicole feeling like, hey, even if I'm in the end, in the final 2 with Tommy, I'm going to win anyway?
I don't think she feels that. I think she still is trying to build up her resume. And to Mary's point, I think that with this move, it does help her in the end, regardless of who she's up against. She currently is not aware of the fact that Tommy and Christy have an outside relationship, although there are some other people that are aware of that, and I'm sure we'll talk about that as well. Oh, yeah. So I think she might think she has a shot, especially if, and that's something that I've been keeping up with the updates as we've been talking. And she had a conversation with Tommy, just like a half hour ago or so. And I did like the way Tommy was pitching it to her. He was like, look, this is a you move, not a me move. This is your decision, and if you make it happen, then it's going to be your thing. And I think that's what she wants. That she is deciding to keep Tommy. She is breaking up the second couple in a row, and it's all her. And that's great for her. Might not be great for Cliff, because Cliff is kind of relying on the fact that he can beat her in the final 2, and this move, while maybe being kind of a wash either way in terms of getting to the end, I do think benefits Nicole more in the final 2 jury thing than it does Cliff, because it looks more like Nicole's move for having won the veto and used it. And it also was Nicole's move. She's the one pitching it. So that's maybe something to consider for Cliff as well, as they discuss this and try to figure out what to do.
Because it's interesting, because if if Cole's perspective is, okay, I want to make this look like it's Nicole's move if she takes out Holly, then Holly and Jackson, if I get to the end, will still vote for me over Nicole if I'm with Nicole, or maybe over Tommy. I just think it's much more likely that if Nicole votes out Holly, that people on the jury won't be as mad that she like at least she's trying to strike against Mickey. I mean, we saw Christy in this episode say, "Oh, why are they voting me out? He's gonna win now." And so if she votes out Tommy and Tommy's on the jury, maybe Tommy will respect that as a move against him, or maybe he will say, "Oh, it was bad. You should have voted out Mickey, and now Mickey and Holly, one of them is gonna win." So I just think there's more downsides to keeping the showmans together.
I also think that Nicole, even if she does lose Tommy this week, I think that as the person who is really pushing for him to stay, even if at the end she's like, the votes, I couldn't get Cliff. So I hope you understand if I don't end up voting to keep you tonight. It's really doesn't matter because Cliff's not doing it anyway. That I do think that he goes to the jury house feeling very good about Nicole and is another vote in Nicole's pocket heading into the jury. And I think if you're Cliff, I think that he has to start thinking about a way to get Nicole out of the game, because I think that she's a big block for him in terms of being able to win the game.
Yeah, well, I can tell you that Tommy has said exactly that to Nicole, that he appreciates that she's doing this for him, and that even if it doesn't work out, he will be pulling for her in the jury because she's trying. So that is certainly good for her. And also, just another side note: if I'm Tommy, I'm doing everything in my power to not only make Nicole think that this is her move, but also like they should be trying to really, sign this away in Tommy's blood. Like he should be promising that, or they should be saying, look, if you betray me, or Tommy should say, if I betray you guys, you cannot vote for me in the final two. I will lose both of your jury votes, and I will be up against Jackson. So I'll definitely lose the game if I betray you. Like, just extra insurance that he is not going to turn around and betray them. Because I feel like there's not a ton, like I do think there's incentive for him to betray them at the final four, but there's not a whole lot of extra equity there. So if it's worth the extra bit of getting to stay, then I think you should go for it. And then I think that Cliff does need to be worried about Nicole here in the final two. It is something that he has talked to the cameras about. He's like, man, Nicole winning all these competitions, like, it's great for me. Like he's not like upset about it, because he is super proud of her, and he's very happy, and he knows that it's helping them move forward in the game. But he is definitely also at the same time recognizing, crap, she's getting harder to beat. And I think the problem is that Cliff can't want Nicole out because there is nobody else in the house that will take him to the end. Not Jackson, certainly not Tommy, and not Holly. I think they would all take Nicole over him. They would all take anybody else over him. Maybe Holly would take Cliff over Tommy, but Holly and Tommy can't both be in the game, so because one of them's leaving. So I think he has to sit next to Nicole because he can't really win himself there, or at least it's not likely that he'll win himself there. And so he's just got to somehow work the jury management to make sure that he can beat her.
Yeah, and Rob, to your point, the reason it's hard to talk about this as what's best for both Cliff and Nicole is the fact that when you get down to the final two, I think one of the best things you can do is differentiate yourself from the person sitting next to you. And so I keep saying that they need to own this move. They may need to own it in different ways, and all of the moves to get, Cliff and Nicole, if they're trying to get to the end together. Because the other thing that this move is doing for Nicole, not just targeting Tommy or Holly, she's saving Cliff with it and herself. And that's something that is really hard for Cliff to argue that he's doing. So if his tactic needs to be different than Nicole's, then I just want to see him start doing that.
Taran, would you say that Cliff is drawing dead at this point?
I don't think he's drawing dead. I think he still has a chance to beat Nicole in the end, but I do think that if Nicole wasn't the one to win these competitions, if Cliff had saved himself, if Cliff had won the HOH and Nicole had won the veto and the double eviction, then I'd say Cliff is looking like one of the more likely winners at this point, because he's really locked in. Things are looking great. But Nicole starting to build her resume in the way that she is. She was already so likable and so loved in the house. I really feel like he's going to struggle to beat her in the end. And so I don't think he's drawing dead yet. Juries are difficult to predict, and I think there's still a lot of leeway back and forth as to who could vote for who in the final two. I think that Cliff will get a lot of strategic credit, whereas Nicole has that underdog winning competitions at the end momentum. And I could see that strategic credit going into effect and causing some votes to go his way. But it is starting to look more and more like this is yet again another big uphill battle for Cliff here. And I'm not sure he has the tools to get out of this one.
And while Cliff doesn't, this is not the best comparison because Cliff and Nicole are not really the same as a lot of these people. But if you look at the last 3 seasons of Big Brother, including Big Brother Canada, the person who was more the underdog, or not the underdog, but the person who won more in the end is the person who got the votes versus the person who had more control throughout the whole game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, while Cliff didn't have major control, he was a more active player and a more aware player and strategizer for the first part of the game, or the first 2/3 of the game or so. And Nicole has really come into form recently. So it's hard with the current jury questioning, and can Cliff, if Cliff's sitting next to Nicole, can he really speak to the fact that he got Nicole toward the end and then she's the one who helped pull out the last few wins? Tricky to see.
Okay. Taran, you alluded to the fact that we had another bombshell drop in the house this week. Can you talk about what happened this weekend with Tommy revealing the true nature of his relationship with Christy?
Yeah, well, like I said, I feel like it's been boiling up inside of him for a while, and he finally got the relief of Christy leaving. But then Jackson and Holly were just hammering home over and over, Christy sucked, you shouldn't have worked with her, basically that's the reason you're in this position, is all because of Christy. She dragged your game down, you shouldn't have been working with her, she's a psychopath, she's a liar, she's a manipulator, you really shouldn't have done it. And Tommy finally was just like, it's not my fault.
I had to.
Yeah. So I had to. It's his exact words were something along the lines of I had to go with it because of who she was.
She was my aunt's lover.
Yeah, and I genuinely think this was. It was mostly emotional. I think that he just needed to get it out and just be like, God, it wasn't my fault. I was forced into this position. I know you hate her, but you don't have to hate me. I was good.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't my fault that I saw her and saw home. Yeah, I don't know. I think it really the moment that it came when they're sitting there bad mouthing Christy, this came across to me so much more as I just don't want to be associated with the negativity anymore kind of situation. But
yeah. Mary, was this a Hail Mary of basically hey, let me just shake up the snow globe and see what happens? I'm already screwed here.
I guess, but if you're gonna make it
pre-veto, right, Taran?
Yes, it was right before the veto.
But if you're going to use it as a Hail Mary, there are ways that you can state it to try and get something from it of, revealing a secret. I don't know. He just, it seemed like Taran said, much more emotional, much more I just don't want to be picked on for this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It was good, though, in the sense that he, if this secret were to get out, this was probably one of the better ways for it to happen. He controlled the narrative, and he really sold home that, this was a terrible thing for my game. I hated it. I was stuck in it. I couldn't get out of it. I was obligated. I couldn't escape. And he's saying it to Holly, who understands that feeling. So there hasn't been a lot of talk of oh, that was so unfair. He's had such an advantage all season long.
But then why not say it when he said it? He could have said Holly, you know how this feels.
Well, that's a sore subject. I don't think he wants to remind her how hard he hit that hammer of like, it's unfair. You can't have people that know each other.
Well, maybe if you were gonna reveal it, maybe you shouldn't have harped on about that earlier in the season. This
Yeah.
is just poor planning, and the movie version of Big Brother 21.
Y'all are at Stagecoach.
Yeah.
My mom
Okay.
was asking me about Stagecoach the other day. She's like, "What is this? Just a place that only reality stars go to?"
Mm-hmm.
I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
When's
well.
the next one, Taryn? Do we know?
I don't know.
That'd be crazy.
Sign me up. I gotta go there. Apparently.
Yeah.
2020 Stagecoach will begin Friday, April 24th.
Wow, that was some fast.
Oh,
Googling.
during Big Brother Canada. Okay.
Oh boy.
Have to multitask that one. Okay.
Yeah, if you missed the 2019 one, then sorry, you're already out of luck for 2020.
You're out of luck.
The
Okay.
2020 casting for BB Can.
All right. Should we take some questions and feel free jump in if people questions your way. Also, Scott St. Pierre is standing by and sending some questions my way via the G chat. Let's see. This is one from Brantley Cooper. Will the jury be bitter if they find out about Tommy and Christie's prior relationship? That will be interesting in terms of, if Tommy does not go to the jury house this week, hypothetically, now, if Holly goes back, is she going to be delivering that news to the jury house and then calling Christie out about it?
I think she will deliver the news, but I don't think she'll be bitter about it because she had the same advantage, right?
I don't think Holly will be bitter about it, but I think having Christy there and hearing her speak on it more, if people in the jury like Christy to some extent, but if there's anyone in the jury who doesn't like Christy or decides they don't, that I think could hurt him.
And honestly, I think in some ways it could help him, especially with Nick. Again, especially the way that he told this story. I think that Nick will be like, oh my God, that's why he couldn't vote for me, because he was obligated. Again, the way he told the story, I was stuck in this position. I had to because of who she was. And so I think that Nick will be like, oh, he did want to keep me, but he was stuck with her because he knew her from the outside. And I think it will actually help him with Nick.
Yeah, but like if Christy is standing there while Nick's saying that, going, no, Tommy loved me. No, we've known each other forever. No, Tommy's just saying that we're best friends. Kind of just.
I mean, I don't think Christy's that dumb. I think it'll help him with Nick. I think that Holly and Kat can't really be bitter. Granted, I guess Kat can be bitter or whatever because that's Kat, but I don't think Holly would be, and I don't think Jackson is.
Taryn, did Christy say that her and Tommy were friends?
They knew each other in elementary school as kids, and then lost touch for a long time, and then reconnected when she started dating his aunt.
Okay, we started dating the aunt. It's a tale as old as time.
Truly,
yeah,
they were meant to be.
Okay,
the universe brought them back together.
She manifested it. Okay. Cindy wants to know, has Nicole increased her odds this week to be invited back for an all-star season, Mary? Are we looking at all-star Nicole?
She's at the very least increased her odds of hosting a bird-related competition in the future. So that's probably going to happen.
That's what Cliff told her. He was like, you won BB Comics. You could come back and host it next year. Like, they're just so excited about any little thing.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I could see her coming back.
All right, that's good. I wonder, is she doomed, Taryn, is there a third place Anthony curse for 2019? Could she be doomed to be in the Big Brother Canada Anthony spot?
But Anthony didn't come in third.
He lost in the finals?
Yeah.
Oh,
she win with no votes, or and be second with no votes.
Okay. This could be it. Well, watch out for that.
I mean, she's also got the Nicole bump, though.
The Nicole bump. Why Nicole's win?
Yeah, Nicole won in a similar season where there were 3 duos at the end.
Okay. All right. We'll have to see how this is all going to play out. Humberto wants to. Do you think anybody else can win sitting next to Jackson in the final two?
I think that's hard. I think Tommy has the best chance. But I think it's still gonna be kind of close, and also I feel like probably wouldn't be a final 2 anyway. But I think that I mean, if you run through the votes, you've got Jack, that's actually a tough call, but I think he probably goes Tommy. Sis would go Tommy. You got Christy going Tommy, and I think then you have Holly and Nick, and who knows where Jess goes. I think ultimately that comes down to where Cliff and Nicole fall, and I don't know where Cliff and Nicole fall between Tommy and Jackson. I would imagine honestly that they go Tommy, but they could go Jackson. I think they could go either way.
I have a tweet from Ryan Moyer on Twitter that we missed talking about one of the rounds of movies.
Oh no.
Yes, we did not talk about the OTEV, Finding Veto, and another one of my favorites, How to Lose a Game in 10 Days, starring Jace and Joey. Battle of Endurance, but not theirs.
Yeah, that was the example comics or the example movies.
Yeah, it's okay. That's right. Very, very good. Can't believe Jace and Joey get to be on BB Flicks. There was also some talk about Mary about BB Flicks original movies, like a very subtle shot about the movies that Netflix puts out are subpar compared to movies that go to the movie theater directly.
Yeah, I think that is semi-accurate, but it was great. It also reminded me of Disney Channel original movies, which I think are possibly even better than Netflix original movies. So,
okay.
I mean, I don't know. Roma was good, guys.
Okay.
Like, I think BB Flicks. It's supposed to be Netflix. That's what it is.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So of course they've got originals.
All right, Taran, did you have any questions that were sent to you that you wanted to address here tonight?
So I got one from TV Fan who wanted to know this plan between Nicole and Cliff to keep Tommy. Could that change if and or when they find out about his real life relationship with Christy? So now that this secret is out, could this potentially change their idea of wanting to keep Tommy in the game? Which I think is definitely something to consider here.
Well, what would change? Would it be that, oh, well, he's got a locked in vote from Christy in the final two? Like that it was a big deal when they were both in the house, but now that he's alone without Christy, I'm not sure what does change.
I think it's less about the actual details of what's changed and more about just the impact that it has in the sense that it completely reworks how you view Tommy as a player. That
my hands were tied.
Right, like the whole season he was lying about this thing very successfully, and so like I think that your perspective of him changes and you get a little more suspicious about like, well, could he be lying to us right now then? Could he be, backstabbing us? So I think they already assumed that Christy was a vote for Tommy in the final two, but it's a guaranteed vote now, and she's definitely stumping for him in the jury house. That's another thing to consider. So I think it definitely could have an impact.
Mary, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I've gone back and forth. I think honestly the fact that Tommy didn't tell Nicole and Cliff this, and that if Holly and Jackson reveal this information to Nicole and Cliff before Tommy gets a chance to, then I think just the fact that he didn't tell them is a big enough reason to suspect him and to think poorly of that. But yeah, I don't know. I think that I just really don't love that Tommy did this, just because I really think he should have either saved it for when he knew that he was potentially going home, like after the veto, or saved it for a final two kind of thing in his favor to somehow use. But I guess he just figures he can't use that, so might as well let it out now. It's not great. It's much like Cliff trying to be the loyal and honest guy all season, and then if he's going to backstab his alliance of four, then he needs to let it out in the right light. And I just don't love the way Tommy did this.
Taran, can I ask you another real quick thing? And this has to do with Holly and Jackson and the probably the showman's name for them, which has taken off the most, of Macbeth. What do you think that Holly's reaction is going to be when she gets out of the house and learns that people are calling them Macbeth?
I think she's gonna be glad that at least that one's a little more popular than meth.
Yeah, sure.
But no,
wait, why Macbeth?
yeah, that's. You know what though? At least in Macbeth, his wife was more than just the wife.
She's Lady Macbeth. That's
Yeah,
what
like
that's how people will
she
spit
was
it to her.
pretty active, pretty she was very she was doing things, very strong woman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, very, not necessarily inspiring in the most positive way, but at least inspiring in some way.
Because what's the origin story of people calling Holly Beth? That one of the house guests referred to her as Beth one time.
David came back into the house and called her Beth on accident.
Okay.
And she hated it.
She hated it. Okay. Oh, she'll be really mad.
Oh,
She won't be happy.
She's gonna be so upset that people have been calling her Beth all season long.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I hope she has a good sense of humor when she gets out of the house. I think that is a real key to maintaining sanity when you get out of the Big Brother house.
I agree. I hope that she does, because like right now it's very easy. Like, she's so concerned about her image that it's very easy to poke fun at her because that she's gonna like freak out about it. But if she starts, like, if she gets out of the house and she's like, oh, like here it is. I found my image. It's this. It's like that. I was the old one. I was Beth. I was boring. Like, that's funny. I think she can do well for herself after the show.
Okay.
I've been trying to catch it, but I don't think the show hasn't called them Macbeth at all.
No.
Even in the okay.
No.
See, I feel like they should have just steered into that, because that would be a great movie poster for next year.
Maybe next season. Mary,
Lady Macbeth.
Yes. Mary, I also
She's
think
got
that
blood on her hands.
Oh no. What's it from? Mary,
I'm cuddling a watermelon too hard.
Yeah. I do feel like that Jackson is gonna think the Macbeth thing is hilarious.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
That's funny. You gotta admit, that's funny.
Oh, that's funny. The Jackson's taken such a turn.
In which way?
It just makes me sad. That's all. I don't know.
So is this like he's gone full 360 for you?
Yeah, I mean, I never came back as strong on him as everyone else did.
Stayed out.
Yeah, Watermelon Gate or whatever. But I feel really bad for Holly, and it's been pretty gruesome for me to watch a lot of this stuff going on. I know this has been talked about nonstop, but it's I find it very interesting that the show even put a lot of that on there, just given the fact that they usually really try to show the showmances in a happy light, and the fact that they haven't even been calling them Jolly really on the show.
Mm-hmm.
One of the most ironic names up there with the what was that alliance? It was like the Love Pack or something. I don't remember what it was.
The friendship?
No, the one from this season that was like
Lots of love.
Lots of love. Yeah, that one.
LOL. Yeah.
How have Jackson and Holly been doing, Taran? Have they been sort of like through that rocky patch?
It's more like they went through a rocky patch and it broke their cart, and they're just trying to pretend that it's not broken. They're just like wheeling along on a broken cart after the rocky patch, and they're just like, this is fine. We're just not going to talk about this broken cart. And meanwhile, Jackson is like talking to Tommy like, yeah, I'm sure no matter what happens, we'll be in each other's lives forever, whether I'm dating somebody else or she's dating somebody else, things. Okay. Like, I don't know how invested either of them are in this thing.
Good.
Right.
Glad to hear it.
Let's see. All right. Let's talk about what's coming up here on the podcast and the RHAP ups. Amazing Race Canada has a RHAP up of the semifinals. Amazing Race Canada finale coming up later on this week. Challenge War of the Worlds episode 2 recap is up. Josh Wigler is going to be on the Survivor South Africa recap, so be on the lookout for that. I also talked about Season 3, Episode 7 of Dawson's Creek. Mary, are you a Dawson's Creek person?
Is that the one with Pacey?
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
And Joey
Yeah. I feel like I've seen a couple episodes. There was a brief time where we had SoapNet,
Mm-hmm.
so I definitely watched a little bit of it then, but I was a
Yeah.
little bit more of a One Tree Hill stan myself.
Got it. Taryn, you wouldn't watch that, right?
It's gibberish to me right now.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, it's no Riverdale,
No
so
Riverdale. We had a fun podcast with Mike Stern, former podcast co-host of with Eric Stein, and also a voice doppelganger of Eric Stein.
Mm.
Check out on the latest Rob and Akiva. Need a podcast, and we'll be back Thursday night for the Veto recap, talk about all of the BB comics, and then we will talk about everything from the Thursday eviction. Could be a good one. Could be a good show, Taryn. If we get potentially a Holly blindside and Jackson Holly don't know about it, I mean, that would be something.
As evil as Nicole is, I don't think it would be a blindside, unfortunately. But it's still going to be a good one if Holly ends up leaving on Jackson's HOH.
Okay. All right. So that'll be an exciting show coming up on Thursday night. So be on the lookout for that. Of course, all this Big Brother podcasting is made possible by the patrons of Rob Has a Podcast. Be sure to go on over to robhasawebsite.com/patron to find out more about everything we're doing in our patron community and get access to our patron only podcast feed as we're talking Big Brother, getting ready to talk about some Survivor stuff very soon. And if we ever get to see what the cast of Survivor 39 looks like, you know where to turn.
We've seen the cast.
Well, have we?
Yeah, Rob and Sandra.
Yeah, Rob and Sandra, for sure. But if we get to find out about anything about any other players that are in that season,
It's not other players.
you know where to go. You know where to find it. Head on over to robhasawebsite.com for everything. All right. Mary,
why do you need to see any other cast?
Yeah. I love Boston Mary Rob.
Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah.
New character.
Uh-huh.
What other impressions do you do, Mary?
Zero.
Vera.
You have to listen to my Riverdale podcast to find out.
You do Survivor and Big Brother impressions in the Riverdale podcast?
Only when I can slip them in
Riverdale
without.
Wentworth? Is that the character on your show?
It is now. I'll add that to
See
one of
my
sleep
daughter
in.
Kelly. Yeah. Missy is a real piece of work.
I feel like there were definitely some Farm Guy 69 jokes that happened.
Okay. All right. All
There
the
you go.
more reason to listen. So check that out. And follow at Frail Mary on Twitter. Anything else new with you, Mary?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I moved on. Hold on. I've moved on to Harry Potter PC gaming.
Ooh.
So
Yeah.
we'll come back to Nancy Drew. We won one mystery. So the girl detective has turned into the boy wizard.
Yeah.
I played that game as a kid.
It's
Yeah.
great.
I got my brother to hook up a Super Nintendo at my mom's house for my kids to play with.
Oh,
boy.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do they are they excited by it, or are they
Yes.
like, what is this?
Yes.
Why is this not an iPad?
No, anything Mario. They're excited
Okay.
to do it.
Hmm.
They
Are
don't-
you a
Classic.
big gamer, Rob?
I mean, not currently.
We're gonna get him on Twitch.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Enjoy the time now where you can beat them before they just.
Yeah. We play a lot of like Lego video games,
Oh yeah, those are the
like
best.
Lego Star Wars and stuff like that. But they love anything Mario. Of course, Taran. Of course, Monday is coming up. LFC roundtables around the corner too.
Yes, we'll be updating the Stock Watch, recapping the week on the feeds, and really starting to project into the end game. Who's gonna win this thing? What are the jury votes looking like? And of course, I'm gonna have to talk about this decision that Nicole and Cliff have to make. I'm sure Brent has some opinions on it, and I imagine it will be hotly contended.
Okay. All right. Taran.
Contested.
Whatever.
It's like, no, that was wrong. Why did I say that?
It's late. Okay. Taran. Anything else?
You can find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Taran Armstrong, where I also mess up words, and then also on Twitter, where I usually don't mess up words because I'll delete the tweet.
That's right. And the live feed update back tomorrow morning as well. So very fun on a Sunday night. I guess what, only the 2 more Sundays left in this season? What's today? The 8th, and then we have the 15th, and then the 22nd. So it's, yeah, 2 more Sundays of Big Brother. Can you believe it?
There you go.
Almost, yeah, 2.5 weeks. And then Survivor's around the corner too. So take care, everybody. Have a great night. Bye.